That is one attention head. GLM5. 2 runs dozens of heads in parallel at every layer, each with different query key value projections, each learning to track different kinds of relationships, syntactic dependencies, semantic similarity, positional patterns, coreference chains. And the model stacks dozens of these layers deep. The operation that dominates the cost is the query key dot product. Every query must score against every key. If there are n tokens in the sequence, that is n queries times n keys. N squared pairwise scores per head per layer. At 4,000 tokens, you compute 16 million scores. At 32,000 tokens, you compute over a billion. At 128,000 tokens, a realistic context for a contract review agent processing a deal room, you compute over 16 billion pairwise scores per head per layer. Let's make that concrete. Say you're running a contract review agent. The deal room has 300 pages of agreements, schedules, and amendments. Tokenized, that's roughly 128,000 tokens. The model has 128 attention heads and 96 layers. The pairwise scores per head per layer: 128,000 squared, roughly 4 billion. Multiply by 128 heads, 1 trillion. Multiply by 96 layers, 201 trillion score computations per forward pass. Each score involves a dot product, a softmax contribution, and a value-weighted sum. You're looking at roughly 800 trillion flop for the attention portion alone before feed-forward layers, before embeddings, before anything else the model does. On a current generation GPU running at roughly 990 teraflop peak, that works out to about 800 milliseconds of pure compute just for attention. In practice, memory bandwidth bottlenecks push the real wall time higher. The KV cache for 128K tokens at FP16 precision across 96 layers consumes roughly 48 gigabytes of HBM, more than half the memory budget of the GPU. The memory bus becomes the bottleneck before the compute units do, and this cost hits every single turn of the agentic loop. Every turn pays the full quadratic tax on a context that only grows longer. The obvious fix is to not compute all n-squared scores. If most of those pairwise connections carry near zero weight after softmax, and they do, why compute them at all? Just pick a pattern of connections in advance and skip the rest. That's what Longformer did. It used a sliding window. Each token attends to a fixed neighborhood of nearby positions, say 512 tokens on each side. A handful of special global tokens attend everywhere. The pattern is cheap to compute and easy to implement. The attention surface drops from n squared to something roughly proportional to n. The quality gap from these approaches is not subtle. On the ruler benchmark at 128K context, linear attention variance like GDN dropped 569 points. On repo QA, the gap widened to 733 points. That is the model losing the ability to connect information across distance. Here's a specific failure case that makes this concrete. An autonomous coding agent is debugging a production failure. The error traceback sits at position 500,000 in the context. The function that caused the error was defined at position 200,000, 300,000 tokens earlier. The function signature at 200,000 expects a dictionary with a specific key. The call site at 480,000 passes a list instead. The error at 500,000 is a key error.